This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. It's thanks to their support that our videos like this and more are possible. We just launched our new website on Squarespace and are really impressed. You can check out the link in the description. If you need a website yourself, get 10% off by going to squarespace.com/makeeverything. So I'm going to try and turn corn into candy corn. So I'm here at the largest maize in Minnesota to get some corn. All right, got some corn. I just got to find my way out of here. Which way did I come in? This way. I feel like that sign kind of implies what happens in the corn pit stays in the corn pit. Wedding rings come off. Made out of the corn maze and I have a whole collection of corn now to try and make candy corn. So the basic thing I'm going to try and do is boil the corn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil the corn to extract the starch from it. With the enzyme, it'll turn into glucose sugar or corn syrup. Now, if we want to make equivalent of a sugar, we would need to add another enzyme to turn it into high fructose corn syrup. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that, so I'm going to use a sugar cane. And previously, I've collected some sugar cane when I was in Mexico and used it to make a chocolate bar. But I made a few mistakes in that. I left the skin on it, which left it with, ironically, a corny flavor. And there's a few other steps that can be done to purify it into a better white sugar. So I'm gonna experiment and try and do those as best as possible and try and get a really pure white sugar. The white sugar is important because I wanna make the iconic 3 colors of the candy corn, first being white. The one other key ingredient is the gelatin, which is key to giving it a nice texture. And that can be made from an animal bone, which this one we found while walking on that Oregon Trail to find natron in Wyoming. Not sure where it is, probably cow, antelope, human, I don't know. We're gonna boil it and eat it. All right, so let's get started with the first few steps, which is basically boiling everything. I'm gonna boil the corn to extract the starch, boil the sugar to extract the sugar, and boil the bone to extract the gelatin. Let's get boiling. Everything set. It just needs to boil for a few days, and then I can begin processing the different ingredients. So I've been boiling for about 2 days now, and about halfway through I thought it might be a good idea to cut the actual kernels off of the cob so it'd be able to soak it out more. Unfortunately, it might have been a bad idea because it looks like it's absorbed most of the water, which I'm after. So kind of counterproductive. But I bought a few mesh bags they usually use with beer brewing, and I'm going to transfer it into there, and then I can squeeze it out. So after boiling the corn, strained it and separated it, soaked it, and now I have this, which should be mostly starch. I separate some of it to fully dehydrate into just cornstarch. Well, the rest of this I'm going to turn into sugar. I'm going to do that using an enzyme called amylase. This is similar to the enzyme that's in your saliva, but it's a little bit more potent. So it's been a better part of a day now of its converting, and no idea if it's actually done or not. Also dehydrated most of the starch, so now it's right here. I think the best way to see how well it's done is to just taste it. And I can compare. The starch should not be sweet at all, and converted should taste pretty decent. It tastes like corn, no sweetness whatsoever. So that's definitely starch. Let's try this stuff. Yeah, it's definitely sweeter, but also not super sweet, which is about what I expected. One issue I'm facing with this method is that the enzyme produces both glucose and maltose. And both are sugars, but glucose is basically what's normally in corn syrup, and maltose is like half as sweet. So between the two of them, it's gonna be a little bit duller, a little bit less sweet. So I'm probably gonna wanna add some extra sugar, either from the sugar I made or with some honey I've collected previously. Next, back to the sugar cane. After boiling and straining it, I'm going to try and remove impurities through a process called carbonation. First, calcium hydroxide is dissolved into the sugar solution. Then, CO2 is pumped into the solution, causing it to precipitate out as calcium carbonate, while also taking with it any other possible impurities. Next, I tried filtering the sugar water through a carbon filter with the help of a vacuum pump, hopefully filtering out some of the discoloration. Lastly, I use a vacuum chamber to lower the boiling point of the sugar syrup so I can remove the last of the water from it at a lower temperature so there's less chance of caramelization. One last method that's used is a centrifuge to help separate the molasses and the syrup from the sugar crystals. So I'm gonna try and make a really crude centrifuge just to see if it'll even do anything. This is probably gonna fail. It's probably gonna go flying and gonna have sugar all over my walls. But it's worth a shot. So I got these little centrifuge capsules. Then with this rotary tool, drill the hole, attach it to here, and you put them into here. And then this should hopefully spin it really fast, and we can hopefully see if we can separate the two separate components. Pretty doubtful, but I'm curious, so I'm gonna give it a shot and see what happens. Got it in there. This is not gonna end well. I think it might actually work. Wow. I don't know if I dare go any faster. Yeah, shouldn't have gone faster. You know, there might be slight separation just on the top. So theoretically, this might actually be working. I just need a real centrifuge. I wonder where those went. Well, the last of the sugar that isn't all over my walls crystallizes into what is hopefully some fairly white sugar. I now need to make some food dyes for the orange and yellow parts of the candy corn. So I bought this plant a few months ago to hopefully use for this project to make a yellow dye. This is a turmeric plant. It has not survived too well. It's kind of just barely hanging on. I think this one's just dead. This one's still a little bit of green. I don't know how it's still alive, but apparently it is. But hopefully have enough of the roots to use to make a yellow dye. Alright, then just let this boil, and this should turn into the primary yellow dye. Be the main dye that I'll be using. I'll also combine some of this with the cochineal to produce an orange dye for the very bottom stripe of the candy corn. Now, a quick test to make sure I can get the right shades of yellow and orange. With pretty much all my ingredients set, now I need a mold, which I'm going to carve out of some wood. So after a bit of work, I have 8 different holes here for the candy corn. I was a bit ambitious. I thought I could do like fill the whole board, and I have 3 other boards here to do. A lot of work. I'm gonna put the cornstarch that I extract into here so it doesn't stick. It's gonna kind of fill in any pits and valleys, hopefully. I can hopefully get some decent looking candy corn. I can do some test batch and we'll see how well it works. After a few test batches to figure out the right tweaks to the recipe, it's time to try it out with my homemade ingredients. Bone dehydrated down to a leather, and then I rehydrated so it'd be easier to mix in. Finished drying the cornstarch in the oven, and then ground it to as fine of a powder as possible. Corn syrup just needs to be strained, which seemed to help remove at least some of the residual starches. As for my sugar, despite all my attempts at trying to purify it into white sugar, I still wound up with pretty much the same brown, slightly caramelized sugar as my previous attempts. To try and compensate for this and get it more white, I'm going to try adding some milk I dehydrated into a powder. All right, that actually worked pretty good. Looks pretty nice and fluffy. Looks like the gelatin actually did a decent job. Still smells a little bit like a cow, but I mixed together as well as probably some milk powder, hopefully lighten it up, and hopefully it won't be too dark. Don't think it's gonna get any whiter than this. Tastes pretty good. More caramely than actual candy though, but it's kind of what I expected at this point. Starting with such a dark base, getting the food dyes to show up is gonna be a challenge. First the turmeric, then the cochineal. The coarse grains in my cornstarch might not end up with the best results. All right, I think this is as white as I'm gonna get it, and the other stuff is starting to burn. So, let's see what we can do. I have my candy corn, and the end results are not the greatest. So I have to say that I did succeed at making the individual elements, like the corn syrup and the cornstarch and the sugar. I think individually, each of them work fine, but just making the candy corn itself, it's actually pretty challenging. And even with the store-bought ingredients, I found there was a pretty big challenge of getting it to the right texture and consistency while not caramelizing it. So the end result of my candy corn is pretty brown, caramelized, and different consistencies of the different levels. I can't tell the difference between the yellow and the white. The turmeric dye wasn't the strongest, and starting with a caramelized, already yellow, it's kind of hard to judge it, so I can't really see the color difference too well. Then the cochineal ended up adding so much moisture that it never hardened, and I let it sit for a while, put it in the freezer, and it still is quite wet. This is the end result. Not the most appealing. Not something I'd want to put in my mouth, but I'm going to, because I gotta see how it tastes. Let's try it out. Definitely more of a caramel flavor than a sugar flavor. So in that regard, not very similar, but overall it's actually not that bad. It looks absolutely disgusting, but it tastes halfway decent. So these are the two ones I made using store-bought ingredients, and even then it was a bit of a challenge. If I do it at a lower temperature, I got pretty decent results. All the color remained, didn't caramelize at all, but it's super soft and does not hold its form. And it was a pain to get out of the mold even. The other one that has a little bit more consistency of store-bought, of the actual candy corn, caramelized. So it was a bit harder than I expected, and tasted a bit caramel like I expected. Not quite there, probably a little bit lighter would have been better. Lastly, I'll try the one that looks the most like store-bought. Very difficult to pull out. Very sugary. Definitely tastes of sugar, a lot sweeter. Not caramely like the other ones. Of them, it's the one that tastes the closest to this, but still very different. I don't know what it is about candy corn, but it tastes very different. I mean, it's just basically pure sugar. So at this point, I've made a huge mess of my kitchen. I have corn everywhere. I have dirty pots, corn kernels and starch everywhere. I have sugar all over my ceiling. I have that on the floor now. Well, my attempt at making this highly industrially processed candy by myself in just my kitchen was less than successful. This is just the beginning of this journey. With a wide variety of candies that exist, I'm going to continue this process. Next time, reaching out for some experts for some help. And this is going to be a continuing quest for me as I proceed to indulge my sweet tooth as I make a variety of other seasonal sweets and candies. Thanks again to Squarespace for making this episode possible. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Create a beautiful website with their all-in-one platform, no coding experience required. They have a ton of templates to choose from, so you don't have to start your designs from scratch. Squarespace provides award-winning 24/7 customer support, and it's simple to set up or transfer an existing domain to Squarespace, so all your websites live in one place. We just transferred our website to Squarespace and really love how easy it is to use and how great our content looks on their platform. Start your new free trial today at squarespace.com/makeeverything to get 10% off your first purchase. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out other content we have covering a wide variety of topics. Also, if you've enjoyed these series, consider supporting us on Patreon. We are largely a fan-funded channel and depend on the support of our viewers in order to keep our series going. Thanks for watching.